I'm Chelsea Monroe. I'm the Senior Campaigns Manager at the Fairtrade Foundation. I've got about 8 years of experience in marketing campaigns, and I've been using engaging networks for about 6 of those years, so quite a long time.
Yeah, and I'm Patrick McAndrew, website and email marketing manager at Fairtrade. Been in the digital marketing industry for about 5 years, but still relatively new to EN.
So to dive in, what is soft opt-in? Soft opt-in refers to a change in the UK law under the Data Use and Access Act, so very jargon heavy. But basically this is positive because this means it's more flexible for charities to reach out to supporters who haven't specifically given you consent. So historically, supporters have had to opt in and consented to receive emails from you. Now, under this new change in the law, you can email people who have shown a direct interest in your mission. But that is the one caveat there. That's the one thing you need to keep in mind. They have to show an explicit interest in your organisation's purpose. You can't just email anyone and everyone. And the law is not retrospective. So the law rose to royal assent in June 2025, and it came into effect on the 5th of February 2026. So this is a new change, happened as of February, and keep this in mind because you can't email people from the 4th of February if they've showed interest, so 5th of February onwards. Why is it being introduced? Basically, the law aims to support economic growth, innovation, remove unnecessary compliance barriers, but still maintaining strong data protection laws. For charities, this is really important during the cost of living crisis, maybe for fundraisers with donations. It does mean you can reach more people, and just generally for marketers, you can connect with people who are interested in your mission but haven't gone that step further and given you their consent to email. But again, it shouldn't be treated as a free-for-all to email anyone and everyone. It is only people who are interested in your mission. So who can you and can't you email? In a nutshell, you can email people who have expressed interest in your mission, such as signing a petition, or people who have supported your mission, such as donating or volunteering. You can't email people who have showed interest before 5th of February 2006. You can't email people whose interaction was unrelated to your mission. So merchandise, for example, has been ruled as something that isn't supporting your mission. And you can't email people in terms of third parties. So if you've gotten their email address from a third party, like recently we did a petition with 38 Degrees, we would have to get explicit consent from those people. Even though they're showing interest in our mission, it's still third party. And that works in the other way around as well. So if you're emailing people about third parties, for example, we have a lot of partners at Fairtrade, like Tony Straccioloni. We couldn't email them about promotions for third parties either. And you can't email anyone who has specifically said they don't want to hear from you. So even if they opt out and then sign a petition after that, if they've opted out once, they've opted out, take that as a no, don't email them again. This is particularly important as well because the penalties for charities who do go against the law or get complaints, the penalties have gone up. So one grumpy supporter can cost you a lot of money. So if in doubt, email your legal team. This is, I think, a really nice quote that kind of summarises how you can think about it. But used correctly, this provision can benefit both charities and individuals who choose to support them. So see it as a way to connect with the people that have shown interest in your mission, but maybe haven't taken that little step further. I think a lot of people with information overload in today's society are a little bit hesitant to sign up to new mailing lists and add like another form of information into their inboxes. But I think this is a nice way to connect with the people who do care about the work that you do. So what does this mean for you? There are some technical legal jargon incoming, and feel free to switch off. I really highly recommend you just hand this over to your legal team to handle and work with them. You might need to give your legal team a nudge. They're most likely already aware of all of this, but maybe just pop them an email. And for those of you who don't have a legal team, I've just popped on the screen some things that you can think through, or you must think through. So, for example, complaints process by June 2026. Organisations must have a clear complaints process on your website. Legitimate interest assessment. So before you contact anyone, so whether that's first contact email or marketing automation, any form of contact, you must carry out a legitimate interest assessment first. And subject access requests, you all have one, everyone does, but you just might need to review it and update it to make sure that it fits with soft opt-in. And a free opt-out, this is really important. You must give a free opt-out at every data collection point or any email communication afterwards. So our recommendations for you with adopting soft opt-in, these aren't necessary steps, they're just things that are really helpful. And Corinne actually was really helpful with us when we had a quick call to chat through soft opt-in. So some of these things to think through are like a separate legacy list and a DUAA list. So keeping your data and engagement networks clean and clearly segmented, separated, because you can't email soft opt-in people with everything, with all of the information. So if you do want to email about a partner or merchandise, you have to know which list and which profile you are contacting within engaging network. So I really recommend you keep that data clean and separate. Updating your sign-in pages. So because of soft opt-in, you don't have to have that tick box on your pages and your data entry point. You can have it permanently ticked to opt them in and hide that, but you do have to give them an option to opt out. So maybe just switch that and have it ticked. But again, keep your data separate. And then finally, a reduced email program. Because you will be contacting a lot of people who don't necessarily want to receive emails from you, if they haven't signed in, it's quite likely they don't want to be opted in. So just keep this in mind. Maybe think about having a reduced email program option where when they go to say, please don't contact me again, maybe you could offer them an option to receive less or fewer emails from you instead. Cool. So that is the kind of boring technical part of DUAA and soft opt-in covered. And I'm going to hand over to my colleague Paddy, who's going to talk you through how we've kind of approached it so far.
Thanks very much, Chelsea. As Chelsea said, now you kind of understand the law and soft opt-in a little bit better. We thought we'd just give you kind of some of the questions that we asked along the way, but also some questions that you might want to ask if you want to do a soft opt-in campaign. So the first one was looking at kind of what you're trying to achieve at the campaign. Soft opt-in isn't kind of necessarily something that you want to use just freely and loosely. It has kind of restrictions around it and restrictions of what can make it a really successful campaign. At Fairtrade, this was really about increasing our reach and particularly converting kind of brand awareness into finding more campaigners and activists as part of our email marketing lists. So we had a really good opportunity come along, which is as part of our recent campaign. We worked with an influencer called Cody Dala, who a lot of you might know as kind of a very charismatic comedy politics influencer on Instagram and TikTok. He posted a video with us that went really viral, had something like, I think, 500,000 likes or something. It was ridiculous numbers for us, but it presented us an opportunity that a lot of people who saw that video then came and signed one of our petitions, which is a really good thing alongside the new soft opt-in law, because we had an opportunity of people who were part of our petition and clearly showed interest in our campaigning, but hadn't necessarily signed the opt-in box to join our email marketing lists. You can see on the graph on the right-hand side that in total of those people that signed the petition as a result of that viral video, obviously we tracked everything to make sure we knew where people were coming from. Only 17% of those people actually opted into our mailing list. So 83% is a really significant number of people that we know are clearly interested in fair trade and in supporting our mission, but we haven't quite managed to get them into the mailing list. The other clear question we kind of went through as part of planning is just making sure we had all the tracking in place. So obviously data is super important in terms of knowing you're achieving your goals and knowing kind of how much progress you're making. So we set kind of clear goals and KPIs as part of each step to make sure that we were going through the necessary steps. So then we looked at setup. So a couple more questions we asked is where you can collect more data. Essentially, particularly email marketing is sometimes just a numbers game, and particularly with those kind of conversion rates and things like that, the more people you can find, the better you'll be able to perform with these campaigns. And as Chelsea mentioned, we then looked to segment the audience. So we kind of really wanted to focus on making sure our data within engaging networks is as clean as possible. So we built in kind of profiles and segments to make sure that we knew specifically who we were targeting, and having that really focused kind of way to reach people who we knew where they were coming from with this Cody Dala video. Then we set timelines as well. So we have kind of quite distinct timelines of when's best to contact people. Our engagement levels at the weekend are like negative, basically, and during kind of school holidays and things like that. So we made sure we had a set timeline of when we were going to finish all this. And then we moved on to execution. So with the kind of audience in mind and knowing kind of that Cody Dala's audience was largely kind of younger millennials and older Gen Z, we really wanted to target that. So we built in all the content focusing around knowing that audience, but also using kind of bright design, things like multimedia, links through to video, and also referencing the Cody Dala video itself to make sure they understood kind of why they were being contacted. So it wasn't just like kind of out of nowhere that Fairtrade was reaching them. We also consider supporter journeys, obviously a really important thing as part of our general campaigns, but we decided just for the purposes of testing this and getting the data first, that we would do one simple campaign and kind of look at the data from there and decide if we wanted to build further. But obviously, targeting those people who are warmer that might kind of engage with these emails from there on is a really valuable tactic to do. And then again, looking at the send day, send time as part of execution, it's a really important step. So finally, I'm going to walk through our total data after all, but just as part of the questions we asked for our evaluation, our kind of core metric was how many contacts that we had who looked at the email, read all the information, and then clicks on the link to sign up to the email marketing. So essentially asking them to change their mind. They didn't necessarily sign up in the first place and opt into that list, but we're trying to convert those people who weren't interested originally, which is quite difficult because they're cold leads essentially, but we want to really make sure they change their mind as people who are obviously interested in Fairtrade. Then we went back and asked, was it worth it? These campaigns, particularly as it's a new kind of law and we're figuring things out, take a long time. And as you all are kind of similar, I imagine, they take a lot of time when resourcing isn't always easy. So we went back and looked at kind of whether it was worth the time investment. And once we go into the data, I'll kind of see where we headed with that. And then again, you could look at potential follow-ups as well. So looking at particularly those warmer leads, people who have opened the email and things like that, or have even clicked kind of a bit of information that wasn't the main CTA, we'll look at those as well. So there's a couple of things we didn't do, and particularly I think dangerous areas around the soft opt-in that I think is important not to kind of do too freely. The first one is adding contacts straight to that mailing list. Basically, obviously, you don't want people in your mailing list that don't want to be there. It's just not valuable for anyone. You don't want to be annoying people, but also they'll negatively impact your deliverability metrics and things like that. But it also leads to confusions why they're receiving those emails, particularly with this soft opt-in. It can be very confusing about why someone might be receiving these emails. What also we didn't want to do is send too many emails at once. You're reaching these kind of leads in a very important state where you're asking them to change your mind. So if you just start spamming them with emails, you're going to scare them away instantly. So it's about presenting that information that you have in a shorter space of time. And then finally, we just didn't expect people to care. Obviously, they've shown some level of interest because they've signed up petition and they're familiar with the brand, but the really important step as part of that next email that goes is to demonstrate the kind of the basic level of things. Who is Fairtrade? What's our campaign? What are we trying to do? And go for there to establish that value as clearly as possible. And as part of that as well, we kind of targeted those specific users when crafting our messages. I'm going to show you the data next. I will give just general warning beforehand. This isn't necessarily us bragging about how amazing we've done. It's almost the complete opposite. It will show you kind of how, as a guinea pig, we've gone about the campaign and maybe give you some ideas about how we want to go forward from here. So, in total, we had 40,000 emails that went out. This was the audience that came in as part of the Cody Dala viral video. And we achieved about 42% open rate, which is kind of generally in line with where we normally stand in terms of our open rate benchmarks. But where it didn't necessarily perform, and it's understandable considering kind of the kind of context that we're reaching out to, we had a 0.52 click rate, which is far below kind of what we're usually measuring in terms of that. And that ended up converting into 80 people that went back and then opted in after opting out to the mailing list that we were using. So I don't know the kind of maths on that and the actual percentage, but it's pretty low in terms of how many people we converted. If you look on the top right-hand side as well in the light blue, these are our metrics to consider how many people were kind of turned off by the email. So 2.49% unsubscribe rate, obviously a lot higher than you would want. Hopefully no one hears is as high as that on kind of a general email that's going out. But in essence, these aren't necessarily people we would be keeping onto our main mailing list anyway. So it's not necessarily a loss to see those people move from it. And the one we were really concerned about, particularly as well, is that complaints. So that's obviously a big red flag for email providers. If you have a lot of complaints, and it's going to make it more likely that you'll appear in junk boxes and things like that. But we reached kind of 0.02% in terms of complaints, which is pretty much where we'd want to be, and wasn't a kind of a big red warning. So we were quite happy with where we ended up with that, with the rate of complaints. In terms of whether this was worth it for us, this will depend on kind of your own organization, how much time it's going to be and how much it's worth it. But we decided it kind of was worth it to have those 80 new people within the audience, and even just kind of sending out this campaign, doing some testing, finding out what we could do better next time. It was worth it to kind of bring those people back in, which we wouldn't have necessarily got originally in terms of those 80 contacts as well. So we were quite happy to bring those people in. And this has been mentioned already this morning, but similarly, I was going to say, keep testing. I think that's the most important thing. These new legislation and the soft opt-in are still so new, so no one kind of really knows how to adapt to them best to start with. So the only way you're going to kind of make sure you're learning more about these over time and suiting them to your organization is to keep testing them and basically using that data to make sure that you're providing the best results for your organization. I think that's all. We've got one more, but that's everything from us. Thanks very much, and let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much for the great session and lots of questions again. So thanks to the audience for engaging. On Engaging Networks, how did you create the option for reduced email program? Did they go to a separate list if they chose it? Technically, how does it work?
Yeah, so it's essentially a profile, and it's a question that you can ask in Engaging Networks, and you include it on that opt-out page. So when they go to unsubscribe, you can include it as a question. And then just moving forward, when you build your queries and send out emails to people, you would just exclude that question basically. So if they've ticked reduced, you exclude them from all future emails. Well, the occasional email.
Great. Yeah, I know a lot of our clients do that in the US as well, monthly or even quarterly for folks that have expressed interest but might not open all the time.
Exactly, yeah. I think it's really helpful if you're someone who sends quite a lot of emails each week. And I would just exclude them from email sends that maybe are just updates and just send them really big, like campaign launch emails or things like that.
Great, thank you. Do your soft opt-ins get added to a welcome journey, or do you send them an initial email telling them why you are contacting them? And have you had any backlash from disgruntled supporters? I think you covered that a little bit, but
Yeah, so essentially our kind of journey is we're building this out as part of the campaign. So we have a kind of main journey that will come in as part of our general mailing list. We're kind of treating this as separate, and we'll have the campaigns kind of build out from there and build a journey. We're kind of still considering whether we want to kind of pursue it further and build it out more in depth. But for right now, it's kind of just receiving that email as part of the soft opt-ins.
and so now that you've created this, is it running constantly for soft opt-ins?
It's not. It was kind of a one-off campaign we did as part of this viral video. So we used kind of that tracking information and certain date ranges that came around when the viral video came out and when people signed the petition. And we kind of wanted to use it as a one-off, learn from it a little bit, get that data, and then go from there to kind of build on it.
Got it. Does your data from engaging networks go to a CRM, and how are you practically distinguishing between a soft opt-in and a standard opt-in there?
No, the engaging networks data just stays within engaging networks. It doesn't go anywhere else. And distinguishing the soft opt-in versus your regular list. For this, because we haven't moved into the further, like, as Paddy was saying, we haven't gone down like a mailing list automation or anything like that. We've just done this one experiment. So it was just people that came in and signed that petition via Cody Darla's promotion on Instagram. So that's how we've kept them separate so far. I think moving forward, if you were to just start emailing people who were subscribing from your petition on a regular basis but not subscribing, that would just be your new list, and then you would just keep your old, you would create a new list, and then you'd have your old legacy list just left there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So you talked about emailing this group less. Can you say more about how you onboarded them with that welcome journey to bring them in and make them engaged?
Yeah.
And then now that only 80 people join the list, are you now not emailing them at all?
So yeah, everyone that didn't kind of sign up as part of that initial kind of email that went out, we're kind of taking them out of our list, and we won't email them again, just because I think it's too much of a risk around deliverability and things like that. In terms of how we use that first campaign to try and bring people in, we obviously referenced that where they'd come from in terms of that video, and really made clear kind of this is why you're here, but then establishing kind of the value of Fairtrade as well, and kind of trying to bring people in, showing kind of producer stories as well to kind of build in that kind of emotional connection as well. So everything kind of as part of that initial email that went out was to kind of provide those top level explainers in terms of like what the campaign we're running is, why it's important, and kind of building it out from there.
Nice. I'm just looking through some of the other questions. There's lots. How have you found supporting your teams and colleagues in understanding and feeling confident in using opt-ins? And then also, how have you ensured compliance across the teams?
Yes. Yeah.
So we're actually going to do a talk to our... We're going to do a talk across our organisation in the next coming weeks where we can kind of share this information. But it is actually just me and Paddy who do the emails. So really, this is kind of only applicable to the two of us right now. And what was the second part of the question? Sorry.
Oh, ensuring data compliance across the team.
Oh, yeah, we're working very strongly with our legal team. So we do have a really good legal team, and we've essentially pretty much passed it over to them. And then they can feed back to you in more depth what you can and can't do. But we've done a lot of the research ourselves as well.
And so it's going to be a similar presentation internally?
Yeah, we've already done one as well, actually. Yeah, just to kind of the core people in the team and show why these things are important, and it can get kind of quite technical in terms of those legal bits. So trying to just explain it at a kind of very fundamental level and say what the kind of the opportunity there is, I think, is the most important thing.
Great. You talked about the merchandise exemption and saying that if someone buys merchandise, that's not a soft opt-in for other emails, or if you acquire people by soft opt-in, you can't send them merchandise emails. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, merchandise, from what I know, merchandise is a hard no. And this is what our legal team has advised. I do think you should reach out to your own legal teams to confirm, because this update in the law is like a hard line in the sand, and there's a very much like black and white, but also there's a lot of crossover. So For example, like a giveaway can be seen, and you can argue that that's supporting your mission if it's going towards donations or like engagement. But if it's just a random giveaway for Tony's Chocolonely, then that's not. So there is there is some grey areas there, but merchandise is pretty much a hard no. From what I know, I think again, I do think you should reach out to your own legal team to double check, but it's pretty much a hard no.
Okay. No, thank you for that and clarifying that. When you were engaging these soft opt-ins, how did you frame the initial sign-up email to increase the opt-in rate? And did you use any testing or tactics?
Yeah, so we did obviously some split testing as part of it around both the subject lines that went out, but also the content as part of the emails. And yeah, again, it's kind of really just establishing from the start what kind of why they're appearing in your inbox, why you're appearing in their inbox, and then kind of establishing that value and kind of just building on it over time and showing why it's important for them to kind of sign up for emails and what they can expect to receive as part of that.
And for those 80 new subscribers, was it off of one action or was it off of a journey? And can you just remind us what that journey was?
Yeah, so it was based off a single action that came at the bottom of the campaign email that we sent out. And it kind of was essentially just like saying, this is what we provide as part of our email marketing list. Thank you for signing the petition. And then saying like we will be providing more value to you and showing why we're kind of important if you click on this link below, and it kind of link through to for them to opt in to the main email list.
Thank you. So really just one email?
Yeah, for now. I think
for the 40,000 people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a kind of a testing thing for now, and we can kind of see if we want to build on that in the future as well.
Okay, no, that's really helpful. There were lots of questions kind of in that
Sure.
in that world. Do you think you would have had more people? Oh wait, no, that's so somebody's just asking about transparency and trust for your organization, and have you communicated anything about what you're doing with your existing support, about the soft opt-ins to your existing supporters?
Not to our existing supporters. It's kind of completely separate to them. So they wouldn't, if they've already opted in, they obviously wouldn't receive any of these emails, and it would kind of be treated completely separately. But obviously, it's important to be totally transparent to those people who have soft opted in and not necessarily signed that main kind of field at the bottom of our mailing list, but have shown kind of interest in Fairtrade generally. So it's just kind of making sure they understand why they're receiving the email in their inbox as well.
Yeah, so I think because we only sent that one email and the call to action was essentially you've signed Cody Dollar's petition after seeing his video, please opt in. So I think the transparency and trust was more focused on the soft opt-in.
And so then this is a question clarifying the definition of soft opt-in and just how you used it. They said, is a branded hand raiser reflecting your brand's mission via promoted ads without the explicit opt-in question a valid way of getting email addresses and then emailing them?
So using a hand raiser in ads without getting people to opt in, that would be okay.
That's what you did.
Well,
it wasn't a paid ad. It was a kind of a partnership with the influencer. Yeah. But essentially, it was what the video was kind of just talking about Fairtrade and its mission as a whole, and then it kind of went through to click on a link which went to the petition, and then people could sign from there. So I think as long as they establish they've completed some kind of action and shown that they're interested in what the mission is, I think that's a kind of good enough step to take.
No, that's great. And so then what's next?
Sorry, you go for it.
No, you can.
It's a good question. We're still trying to work it out, to be honest, because what we don't want to necessarily do is completely tank our deliverability metrics, and obviously things like having a really high unsubscribe rate is not necessarily something you want to continually be doing. But I think we're just looking for the next opportunity to come along. If we have something in a similar vein where we have lots of people kind of coming in and showing interest, I think it will be go from there and then kind of adapt the approach that we use for this first time, things like changing the content of the email, but then also maybe building it out a bit more to look at those like supporter journeys and things like that.
Great. Well, thank you, Chelsea and Patrick. Really loved learning more about soft opt-ins.